Thanks, Cassie. All right, I'm going to get my video up here. Okay. Can everyone see the slides that are on the program here?
Yes, it looks good.
Okay, excellent. All right. Good afternoon. My name is Michael James. I am a project coordinator for the Central Iowa Land Stewardship Project. I work for Polk Soil and Water Conservation District. We're located in Ankeny inside the NRCS office in Ankeny, Iowa. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the project. The project started about a year ago, and it basically is designed to use profitability as a motivator for conservation in the agricultural section. So we are working with landowners and farmers, and we're looking to find ways to help them meet conservation goals on their farm. The Just a little bit of background about the project. The Central Iowa Land Stewardship Park is a partnership between Polk Soil and Water Conservation District, Polk County Public Works, and the Iowa Department of Land Stewardship. We've also brought in some conservation organizations that have strengths that are valuable to the project. Iowa Soybean, Pheasants Forever, and Practical Farmers of Iowa. All three of those have some very unique skill sets that we utilize when we meet with and work with farmers. Um, as a background, the project is guided by a steering committee. It's made up of agricultural and economic professionals, and we operate in four different counties currently. So Polk, Story, Boone, and Dallas counties. So the core principle of this project is that farming or farms in general contain marginally productive acres. Basically, those acres are where costs exceed the return in many years. The so number one, profitability is a problem, and then marginally productive acres generally have higher nutrient pollution potential. These are areas that flood. These are areas that have high erosion problems. And the one thing that we found is that farmers and landowners know that they have marginally productive acres, but they have a difficult time making decisions about them. Meaning, in the long term, would it be more valuable to farm these acres, or in the long term, would it be more valuable to put them into conservation or a different program? Basically, what we know is by removing marginally productive acres, the farm becomes overall more profitable, and it also has a lower potential for nutrient pollution. So the landowner and society can benefit from marginally acres being put into conservation. So the goal of the project is really to work with landowners, identify marginal acres on their property, and then provide the farmers and the landowners with an advanced set of tools to help them make decisions about the profitability and nutrient management on the marginal acres. So essentially, again, the farmers and landowners generally know that they have these problems, but again, they're having a hard time making a decision about them. So our job is to provide them with tools that allow them to make better decisions. So at the point that they make a conservation decision, our job is then to assist them with implementing agronomic or conservation solutions. So essentially, our job is one of a holistic idea of identifying and then solving and then helping them with the next steps. The one thing that we have a hard time doing is having a conversation with a landowner or a farmer with the idea of simply profitability. Meaning, it's hard to ask, would you like me to assess your profitability? So what we're working on is we work on a suite of services, and basically,
Okay.
so the suite of services is basically what we offer farmers and landowners is we offer them what's known as a whole farm assessment. So we can actually come in and we can look at different areas of their farm or the entire farm and basically look at different ideas. So crop yield concerns, surface water management, erosion, ponding, etc., tile drainage management, and then we can make recommendations for conservation practices. We also offer the services of providing communication services between the landowner and farmers. Many times, a landowner has different ideas about how they want to manage the farm, and they have a farmer who is actually doing something different. They want to communicate that, they want to work together on that, and our job is to help them communicate and figure out a path forward. We also navigate conservation options, and we aid in the understanding of funding sources and signups. One of the things that one of the group of people that we're really targeting is absentee landowners. And it's just providing education to the absentee landowners to have them understand where they are in the scheme of conservation, what they could do better, and what are sort of the common practices that are available to them. Current projects. So because we offer such a suite of services, basically we have projects that are a little bit all over the place. So we have currently in the process, we are working on two whole farm assessments where we're basically taking a look at every aspect of the farm, helping them with survey and making decisions, and then we come up with conclusions. We are also looking at 7 just simply areas of the field and profitability. So we're taking, say, one field or one section of the field and doing a profitability assessment. We're working on tile drainage management. We have 8 saturated buffers and bioreactors in progress. Wetlands, we've identified 2 wetlands in our work, and those 2 wetland projects are currently in engineering. And we have a lot of farmers that are interested in soil sampling, partly because they say, well, this area of the field or this lens of the field doesn't produce much. I'd like to know a little bit more about that. So we provide soil sampling. And then we're currently working with 4 landowners, signing them up for CRP. And then we have some surface water management. These are mostly waterways that we're working to help drain a field. The one project that is, I think, very exciting is that we're working with Dr. Haley Summers. She works at the Sand County Foundation, and she's developed a mapping system that identifies marginal acres using a tool that is available to Iowa, and it's called the CSI2, which is a Corn Suitability Index. And basically, she's using that information and combining it with profitability metrics, and she's basically mapping not only Polk County, but this can be extended to the entire state of Iowa, and finding where marginal acres exist. Once we identify those areas, what we'll do is we can target those landowners and basically talk them through the idea of there may be marginal acres on your land. Would you allow us to take a closer look and get more data and then talk about conservation practices? So what this allows us to do is not only just work in Polk County or the 4 counties that I'm working in, but also expand this tool to be able to be used in the entire state. The information that Haley is putting together will be put into a tool called the ACPF tool, and that's the Agricultural Conservation Planning Framework tool. And this is available to Midwestern states, not only Iowa, but there's a group of states that are north and south of us that all use this tool. And the tool could be expanded, or the marginal acre portion of the tool could be expanded to other states that have soil indices that are similar to the CSI to Corn Suitability Index portion of that. Haley will be presenting at the Iowa Water Conference in September of this year. One of the things that we do is a lot of outreach. We currently do things like website information. We do editorials, letter campaigns, press releases. The first set of outreaches that we did were to friends of Polk Soil and Water Conservation District. We call them our friends, but they're basically anybody that has signed up for cover crop funding or has done edge of field projects with us. From there, we went on to farmers and landowners. We are targeting absentee landowners, so landowners that are outside of Iowa or outside of these county areas. And then we also work with farm management companies. We're working with Hertz and Peoples and Farm National. And then in the future, we'll use Haley's work and target landowners based on the potential of lower yields. This is sort of a stepwise process that we use when we engage with a farmer or landowner. Basically, what we do is we sit down with them, we hold discussions, we try to get everyone involved, we try to get the farmer, the vendors, and the landowner together and define the goal. We gather information. We have some very unique software tools that we use. Fieldalytics is one of them, and then nutrient tracking tool, also known as NTT, is a tool that we use, and then we basically use those tools to review and interpret data. We go back to our initial discussions and reiterate those. We choose a solution, and then we basically work to find a cost share option or a program that would work for everybody. And then we work with them to implement the solution. Fieldalytics is a very unique tool, and this is something that we have been working on. This is the sort of the heart of our profitability tool. Fieldalytics was actually designed as a vendor tool that can be used by agronomists, such as Heartland or some of these big agronomy firms. It basically has the capabilities of storing years worth of data, and so therefore, and costs and a lot of information about a field. So as the fields progress through, say, nutrient management and those types of things, all this information is stored in one spot in basically a database called Fieldalytics. So we've basically modified it, or we've used its capabilities to basically predict yields for a field, and we're doing that by two different options. One is we're using precision agricultural data, and that is that when a farmer cultivates his field, the cultivator actually understands how much grain is going through, and it predicts yields in each section of the field. Or we can use satellite imagery. So either of those two data sources are valuable to us. The results of the tool, basically what we can do is we can confirm suspicions about low yield areas. We can compare different solutions or remedies. So essentially, which remedy would be better. And then we can help define decisions with the farmer and the landowner. So basically, we're pulling in data, we're evaluating that data, and then we're basically helping define an outcome or a goal that is a conservation goal. This is a map of a field. It's in southern Iowa, and basically what you see here is the outline red shows that that there's a field that has waterways in it, and it also has an area that looks like a very low yielding area. I've actually removed it from the field here, so that the bowl in the middle of the field that has some lighter areas has been removed. But this is basically showing you the way that the Fieldalytics tools is used. What I can do is I can pull in data from either the precision ag data or the satellite imagery, and I can look at it in terms of multiple years. So in this case, I have 3 years worth of data. I can pull that and I can what they call normalize it, or they can combine them. And what you see is the red areas of the field are areas that have very low yield or maybe even negative cost implications. And the green areas are the places in the field that have high profitability. So once we take a look at that data, we can then analyze it and make some decisions about it. In this case, what we've done is we've made some projections about the profitability of the field based on the yield of the field, the price of grain in this particular case, and then we can understand profit. So basically what I've done is I've looked at two different options for this field. I've looked at a way that we can remove the sections of the field that are low yielding. In this case, I've taken this middle section out of the field and said, if I remove that, what does that do to my profitability? And then what I've done is I've actually removed another portion of the field and seen whether that makes a change in the profitability. So in this case, on the left-hand side, you can see that this is the full field, and on the right-hand side, I've removed sections of the field that. So basically, I've said we're not going to farm those sections; we're going to put those under conservation. And what you can see in the red boxes at the top here is that the total profit for the field actually increases when I remove sections of the field. And the reason is because those sections of the field were actually negatively profitable, meaning that you were spending more money on inputs than you were on the return, which was the grain price for that. So essentially, by showing that to a farmer, they can see, you know what, this is valuable. Maybe we should consider some other land management practice for those sections of the field. One of the things you can do is put it into CRP, where you would actually get dollars for it. The government will rent it from you for a yearly rent, and then it would be taken out of production. This summarizes the results of sort of three different ways of looking at this field. So in the first case, we're looking at the full field and farming the entire thing, and that's 130 acres. And for the revenue for that crop, we would get $8,000. So my total revenue for that field would be $8,000. If you took one section of the field, and this is the bowl, I took the bowl out and I said, I'm going to take that one seemingly low yielding area of 23 acres out. My revenue for the crop would be 6,600 acres. However, if I assume that I can get revenue from CRP, I can get $4,700 a year in CRP, and therefore my total profit for the year would be $11,000. I actually sort of went a little bit further, and I looked at another area of CRP. So basically, I took two sections out, so 37.9 acres out of production. I then had a revenue of $8,300 for the crop itself. And then I had additional revenue from the $200 an acre for CRP. So you can see that there's a significant value in taking acres that are low yielding or negatively yielding out of production and then putting them into, say, a CRP program or something along that line. Even in this case, in the last case, even if you didn't put it into CRP, you would still be making more money. So this is a compelling idea, and it's a compelling. It compels the landowner and the farmer to really take a look at this and say, okay, how can we best then put this into conservation? The other tool that we work with is called nutrient tracking tool. And this is sort of an add-on to the profitability. And the nutrient tracking tool was developed by USDA. It was also developed by a research organization in Texas. And it basically is designed to fit within different areas of the country. So for Iowa, there's basically a section that works specifically for Iowa, and it really has some unique properties. What it can do is it can tell you if I change practices, what the nutrient removal rate on that property is, and compare the two, and then it'll help you make decisions about which management practices would be better. And in this case, we're looking at conservation practices, and it also has a very robust way of looking at conservation as well. So in this case, as an example, we're basically taking a look at an agricultural field. It allows us to put in the conservation measures that we currently have. In this case, we have a field buffer, and then it asks us questions about the practices that we're using on this field. In this case, what we're trying to do is we're trying to compare a land use management that's slightly different. So currently, the farmer is, while they do have a field buffer, they're currently using full tillage and they're not using cover crops. So what we did was we evaluated three different options. So we looked at full tillage plus cover crops, and then no-till plus cover crops. And we wanted to evaluate the rate of nutrients leaving this field and going into the surface water. So we were able to look at not only input costs, but and field passes and conservation practices as well. So in this case, what we did was we entered all the data for those three options, and we came up with what it basically gave us is an environmental comparison of those different practices. And what you can see is that the full tillage is on the left, full tillage plus cover crop, and then no-till plus cover crop. And if you were to transfer from full tillage to no-till plus cover crop, you would see a 51% less surface runoff, 80% less nitrogen loss, 71% less potassium leaving the field, and then 76% less sediment loss. So the other thing that it does show you, though, is it does show you that there is a potential for your productivity to drop as well. So it does have a sort of a fairly robust section in there where it shows you productivity as well. So what's your productivity difference? But you can see that this is very compelling to a landowner or a farmer to say, look, I can stop the loss of nitrogen. I can stop the amount of water leaving my field because I need that water for my crops. And then the other thing that it can do is it can provide you with an economic evaluation as well. So, for instance, in the blue here, you can see it's full tillage, and then the red is full tillage plus the cover crops, and you can see that there is a bushel yield in corn. The previous slide showed soybeans having less soybeans, but corn actually it shows an increase in the number of bushels that you would get on average. So you can see that in this case you would actually gain bushels by using these environmental practices. So final takeaways, basically the software that we're using and the nutrient tracking that we're using. So basically field analytics can identify areas of low profitability in a field, and they can use either satellite imagery or precision agricultural data. The nutrient tracking software can provide a comparison of nutrient losses and different management or conservation practices. And combined, really the tools create a very compelling argument to consider alternative management on a farm. At that point, the team of the group of conservationists and in the team within our NRCS office, we basically work to help find and fund and implement a solution that meets the goal of the farm. So with that, this is my information. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Michael. A lot of good information there and looking forward to seeing what the future holds for that program. If anyone has questions, it's a pretty small group, so if you want to unmute yourself, feel free. Otherwise, you can type your questions in the chat for Michael.
This is David Brown. I see that the corn suitability index is incorporated into the national or statewide web soil survey. Are either of the other tools publicly accessible?
Are you asking specifically about field analytics or the NTT project?
That's correct.
Okay, so NTT is 100% available to anyone. The field analytics software is actually a private software, and there's a annual fee that's associated with it. But NTT, you can go on to just search for it, nutrient tracking tool, and it was developed by USDA, and so therefore it is available to anybody.
Michael, this is Ann Sita. Hopefully, are you able to hear me?
I am.
Perfect. I apologize. I jumped in to your presentation a little bit late. So if you covered this in the early minutes of it, I apologize. My question for you is in the field analytics section, there was a segment where you mentioned like two different areas of the field went into CRP, but yet the profitability of the crops increased over nothing in CRP. Can you
Yes.
explain how that happens?
So the field actually had about 27% that was below profitability. So it was actually losing money. So you were putting more inputs into the field than were profitable, than you could get out. So the initial review that I did was I left a portion of the field that was below profitability in the field. So therefore, the profit was almost equal when I did that. But when I took out all the unprofitable acres, all of a sudden the field became significantly more profitable overall.
Okay, and that's why it went from, I think it was like 8,000 up to 8,300.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Yep. Thank you.
Michael.
Yes, sir.
So as you, excuse me, as you work through this with landowners and farmers, I'm sure you're learning as you're going and figuring out strategies for, persuasion and trying to get people on board. What have you learned along the way now? It's been, I guess, almost a year, maybe. What is experience teaching you?
So I think experience is teaching me that number one, farmers know, they understand, and they basically have a very good idea of where there are problems in their field.
Mhm.
The second thing is that they're really interested in farmability, and so they tend to ignore or minimize those negative aspects that they have in their field, simply because that by removing those sections, they may end up with a sort of problematic farmability. It's more difficult to farm the fields. However, in the end, once you give them the tools and you give them the information, they suddenly realize, okay, let's figure out the best way to do this. And if you give them options that allow them to farm, to take into consideration their farming ability, I think they then tend to say, okay, I understand this. And then they agree that this is a better path. But I think because there's not only the profitability aspect, but there's the farmability aspect and some other considerations that they take into consider. They really minimize it until you really show them all the data right in front of them. Once they have it, then they can make a great decision.
Right. Yeah. And this is really important, as as you and I have talked about this. There are some people calling for regulation. So because of our water quality problem, and we need more conservation measures on the land and so on. And of course, most people don't want to be regulated. So this is an important question. How do we persuade in a voluntary system and get to where we want to be with our water quality? So,
Sure.
thank you.
Absolutely. Yep.
Thanks.
You got it.
Any other questions? All right. Not seeing any. I want to thank everyone again for tuning in this afternoon. And thanks, Michael, for being our speaker. I will put this recording on the Rain Campaign's YouTube. Once again, email me if you can't find that link. Also, I'm happy to keep these lunch and learns going as long as we have topics that we want to learn more about. So if you have anything you want to learn more about related to water quality issues in central Iowa or statewide, just let me know. And if you have any ideas for speakers, let me know. So thanks, everyone, and have a great day.
Thanks.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thanks.